Skimming is a key skill for IELTS reading. Let's practice IELTS reading skimming with 10 short passages. Read each passage quickly, then answer the question in 20 seconds. After that, I'll show you the correct answer and explain it. Let's start with passage 1. The correct answer is B, the benefits and popularity of urban gardening. Here's how we find it. Look at the first sentence and key repeated ideas. The passage starts with more people have started growing their own food in cities, and says urban gardening has become a popular way. That tells us the main topic is the popularity of urban gardening. The passage also mentions benefits, fresh food, better mental health, and stronger community bonds. This matches perfectly with option B. Now let's check why the other options are not correct. Option A, how to grow vegetables in small spaces, is not correct because the passage doesn't give step-by-step instructions. It only mentions methods like vertical gardens briefly, but that's not the main idea. Option C, mental health problems in cities, is also not correct. The passage says urban gardening improves mental health, but it's just one benefit, not the main focus. So the best choice is B, the benefits and popularity of urban gardening. Let's continue with the next passage. The correct answer is B, the effects of social media on reading and learning. Here's how we find it. Focus on the first sentence and repeated ideas. The passage starts with social media has changed the way people read and get information. That already shows us it's about the effects of social media. The passage gives both negative effects, like reducing attention spans and critical thinking, and positive effects, like encouraging learning and discussion. This balance shows that the main idea is the overall effects of social media on how people read and learn, not just one side. Now, let's check the other options. Option A, how to use social media responsibly, is not correct because the passage doesn't give advice or instructions, it just discusses the impact. Option C, the rise of educational content online, is also not correct because educational content is only one small part mentioned at the end, not the main focus. So the best answer is B, the effects of social media on reading and learning. Let's continue with the next passage. The correct answer is C, the use of renewable energy in transportation. Here's how we find it. The first sentence usually introduces the main topic. It says, many countries are using renewable energy to power transportation. That sets the focus clearly on renewable energy in vehicles like buses, trains, and cars. The following sentences add details, examples of renewable transport, reasons such as reducing emissions, and challenges like cost and infrastructure. All of these still connect back to renewable energy in transportation. Now let's check the other options. Option A, the challenges of climate change, is not correct because while climate change is mentioned, it's only the reason why renewable energy is important, not the main focus. Option B, costs of electric vehicles, is also not correct because cost is just one obstacle mentioned briefly, not the central idea. So the best answer is C, the use of renewable energy in transportation. Let's continue with the next passage. The correct answer is B, the effect of colors on consumer behavior. Here's how we find it. The passage begins with colors can affect how consumers feel and make decisions. That directly tells us the main focus is on how colors influence people when they buy or choose products. Then the passage gives examples: red for excitement, blue for trust, and research showing that colors can increase sales and brand recognition. All of these details support the idea that colors strongly affect consumer behavior. Now, let's check the other options. Option A. How cultural differences affect marketing is not correct because culture is only mentioned briefly at the end, not the main point. Option C. Tips to increase sales is also not correct because the passage doesn't give advice or strategies. It focuses on the impact of colors, not general sales tips. So the best answer is B, the effect of colors on consumer behavior. Let's continue with the next passage. The correct answer is A, the growth and impact of online learning. Here's how we find it. The first sentence says, online learning has grown rapidly in recent years. That shows the growth. Then the passage explains the impact, flexibility as an advantage, but also disadvantages like less social interaction. So the main idea includes both positive and negative effects of online learning. Now let's check the other options. Option B, the disadvantages of online learning is not correct because the passage does mention problems, but it also highlights benefits. It's not only about the negatives. Option C, how apps help students learn faster is also not correct because the passage talks about online learning in general, not specifically about apps or speed. So the best answer is A, the growth and impact of online learning. Let's continue with the next passage. The correct answer is C, why sleep is important for health. Here's how we find it. The passage begins with sleep is essential for both physical and mental health. That directly introduces the main idea. The rest of the passage supports this. Sleep helps the body repair, the brain process information, and prevents problems like stress, poor focus, and weak immunity. It also gives a recommendation of 7 to 9 hours, reinforcing the importance of sleep for health. Now let's check the other options. Option A, the dangers of stress and weak immunity is not correct because those are just examples of what happens without enough sleep, not the overall focus. Option B, how the brain processes information is also not correct because that's only one part of the passage. The bigger idea is the general importance of sleep. So the best answer is C, why sleep is important for health. Let's continue with the next passage. The correct answer is B, how robots are used in daily life. Here's how we find it. The first sentence says, robots are becoming more common in everyday activities. That introduces the main idea. The passage then gives examples in homes, hospitals, and factories, showing different ways robots are part of daily life. It also mentions both advantages, saving time and reducing mistakes, and a concern about jobs, but those are supporting details. Now let's check the other options. Option A. The dangers of losing jobs to robots is not correct because losing jobs is just one concern at the end, not the main focus. Option C, the role of robots in factories only, is also not correct because the passage talks about homes, hospitals, and factories, not just factories. So the best answer is B, how robots are used in daily life. Let's continue with the next passage. The correct answer is C, the discovery and impact of antibiotics. Here's how we find it. The passage starts with the discovery of antibiotics changed modern medicine that introduces both the discovery and its effect. It gives history. Fleming discovered penicillin in 1928 and then explains the impact, saving millions of lives. Finally, it adds a modern issue, antibiotic resistance. All of this shows the main idea is the discovery and impact of antibiotics. Now let's check the other options. Option A. The life of Alexander Fleming is not correct because the passage only briefly mentions him, but doesn't tell his life story. Option B. The dangers of bacterial infections is also not correct because infections are mentioned only as context for why antibiotics are important, not as the main focus. So the best answer is C, the discovery and impact of antibiotics. Let's continue with the next passage. The correct answer is B, the benefits of regular exercise for health. Here's how we find it. The first sentence says, exercise is important for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. That sets the topic. The rest of the passage lists benefits, controlling weight, strengthening muscles, improving heart health, reducing stress, and boosting mood. Finally, it gives a recommendation of 30 minutes most days. All of this supports the main idea, the health benefits of exercise. Now let's check the other options. Option A, why people should lose weight is not correct because weight control is just one benefit mentioned, not the overall focus. Option C, how exercise reduces stress is also not correct because stress reduction is only one detail. The passage is broader, covering many health benefits. So the best answer is B, the benefits of regular exercise for health. Let's continue with the next passage. The correct answer is A, the rise of private space tourism. Here's how we find it. The first two sentences tell us space travel is no longer limited to astronauts. Private companies are now developing spacecraft for tourists. That shows clearly that the passage is about private space tourism becoming more common. The following sentences add supporting details, the possibility of growth in the future, but also challenges like cost and safety. These are extra points, but the main idea is still about the rise of private space tourism. Now let's check the other options. Option B, the dangers of space travel is not correct because safety is mentioned only as one obstacle, not the main focus. Option C, the history of astronauts in space is also not correct because the passage talks about the future of space tourism, not the past. So the best answer is A, the rise of private space tourism. Great job completing all 10 passages. Now you know how to find the main idea quickly. If you want to learn step-by-step how to skim effectively, click the next video. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share so more learners can practice with us.